It's been 2 years since the World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 pandemic. And now, coupled with inflation, economic concerns, and fears of war, Americans have unprecedented levels of stress, according to a recent study from the American Psychological Association. Thanks for joining us for this week's Health News You Can Use. I'm Lindsay Stish. Over the course of the pandemic, people have not only become more stressed, but there's been a higher demand for mental health professionals. This week, we're discussing how to make a plan to reduce stress when it may be time to seek help from a mental professional, and what you can be doing now while waiting for a provider. With me today is Monty Miller, a psychotherapist at St. Luke's Health System. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm glad to be here.
Well, Monty, unfortunately, stress isn't new, and it's not something that's going away. Can you talk a bit about some of the causes of stress right now and how that can impact a person?
Yes. Well, I think, of course, we all know that COVID's been a great stressor for us all. And now we're kind of coming out of that, and we're looking for that wishing things were back the way they were, but they're never going to be that way. So we're trying to find our new normal. And we're also finding a lot of folks who are just kind of frightened to go back out and really believe that it's safe. And so they still want to wear a mask. They don't want to be in large groups. And I understand that, but we are still seeing a lot of anxiety around that. Also, with a lot of things going on in the world today with our inflation and the food prices and fuel prices going up, we have the unrest in other countries. The scenes that we see on TV related to Russia and the Ukraine have really caused a lot of anxiety for people and the fear of another war coming for the whole country. So we are still experiencing quite a bit of stress right now. Right.
So let's say I've made an appointment, but it's not for a while. Now, is there anything I can do in the interim while I'm waiting for that appointment?
Absolutely. And the truth is, you're probably going to have to wait a while to see a provider because of the stress and the anxiety throughout our country right now. What I would say is it's real important to maybe keep a mood log. That way you can keep track of how your moods are moving, and you might even become pretty self-aware that you were not aware that this triggered a mood or that this lack of sleep kind of affected your mood. And this would help for you to provide that with your provider when you meet with them. So you'll have kind of a head start on understanding yourself, and you might also write up some history about your mental health or about your stress and anxiety and give that to your provider, because that will help them as they write up your biopsychosocial and understand you better.
Okay. Now, you touched on this a bit, but how can those recording logs lead to some self-discovery?
Well, it's fascinating because research says we have about 66,000 thoughts a day, an average person. And they say 77% of those are automatic negative thoughts. And so it's real important for us to start recognizing that we have these negative thoughts that we need to be aware of. We need to stop them and replace them with truths and positives and facts about ourselves.
Okay, very interesting. So we've touched on this in previous segments, but if you are feeling stressed now, what are things you can do to recenter yourself?
Well, and that's really can be different for everybody, but I'd recommend that people do a lot of self-care. Be okay with saying no. You don't have to say yes to everything that people ask you to do. Take time for yourself. Take time for those things that help you recharge. It may be a manicure, it may be a pedicure, it may be a massage, it may be acupuncture, it may be taking a walk, it may be playing with your animal, your pet, your dog, your cat, maybe just taking a bike ride. Do those things that really help you recharge and help you and get through your stressors.
Now, in recent years, there have been a lot of new apps and online services to help with this purpose. What resources do you recommend trying?
That's a great question, Lindsay, because all of us are looking for things that are going to be pretty quick and accessible. And so there are a lot of great apps out there today that you could download. Some of them don't cost much. They don't cost anything, some of them. Some might be an annual fee, or it might be a monthly fee. Also, there's audiobooks. There's books. You can go into self-help books. You can ask some folks for some resources that might be helpful that they've already worked through. There's also YouTube videos where you can find great guided meditations. You can find things for yoga. You can find a lot of things on YouTube. Just a lot of resources out there for everybody. There's also checking out with your employer and see what kind of services they offer, like Employees Assistance Program, where you have some sessions for coaching or for counseling, maybe groups, support groups, and different things that really could help you out.
Well, thankfully, the stigma surrounding seeking mental health services has declined, but there are still some people who are reluctant to seek help. At what point should you really consider talking to a provider?
I would say when you see it really kind of affecting your daily functioning, so when it's hard for you to get out, maybe you're isolating too much, maybe your loved ones and your family and friends have said, hey, are you okay? If they've noticed that something is not okay, that might be a real alert or red flag for you. Also, if you find yourself kind of losing energy, fatigue, maybe lacking compassion for life, apathy, where you really just don't feel anything for anything like you used to. So that would signify something's really different. And if that lasts for a period of time, we all have our blue days and our down days, but when they last for weeks and weeks, you really need to seek help as soon as possible and get that appointment made, because it may take you a little time to get in.
Once you do start seeking mental health help, what's important to keep in mind?
It's real important for all of us to remember that this is not going to be a quick fix. This is something that's going to take some time, and you're going to have to work it, and you're going to have to believe that it's going to be helpful. And really, one thing we wanted to help people have is hope. But, nowadays with our society being so instant gratification and everything to be so quick, I think people also think mental health should also be a quick fix. But it really isn't. It's going to take time to build that therapeutic relationship with your professional, and then also do some of the things that are going to help you. Consistency is going to be a key part in your recovery.
Okay, great. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to say that the pandemic has absolutely caused a lot of stress and anxiety for all of us. And many of us can get through it when we're in the crisis. However, it's when it's slowing down and when it's better that then we start to realize, gosh, what have we been through? That's when we start mental health will kind of be affected with stress and anxiety and grief and loss. And we're definitely finding that with our first responders and our frontline workers here in the healthcare system.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Monty.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me today.
To find out more about St. Luke's behavioral health, including free webinars on dealing with stress, anxiety, and more, visit stlukeskc.org/behavioral. You can also stay up to date with all the latest developments on the COVID pandemic and other health news from St. Luke's at stlukeskc.org/news. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time on Health News You Can Use.